Joining me to discuss the BTC price and other Bitcoin news is our weekend review panel with CoinDesk Managing Editor of Technology, Christie Harkin in Toronto, and Managing Editor of Markets, Brad Keoun in Austin. Welcome, Brad and Christie. Good to see you.
Hello.
You too, Christine.
Always like seeing you guys at the end of the week because I know it means the weekend follows. But Brad, okay, so we've seen Bitcoin in a lull this past week. It's headed for its lowest weekly close in over a month. So where do we stand with Bitcoin?
Well, you know, we were just working on today's market wrap, which is our story that comes out at the end of every trading day. But you know, the analysts are saying that the price charts are starting to look ugly. You know, if you look at the various patterns in the charts, it doesn't look constructive. I mean, we've been in this 8-week period now where we've been between 30,000 and 40,000. And, you know, Omkar Godbole, one of our reporters, did a story this week about how the options market, you know, has really keyed in on those two levels, the 30,000 and the 40,000. And if we push below 30,000, you could see, you know, just a lot of traders trying to square positions. And that could lead to a deeper sell-off. That's what people are worried about, especially now that we're kind of like pushing down towards the lower end of the range, not towards the upper end of the range, you know, so that's got some people worried.
Oh, great. Nevertheless, I'm just seeing this study saying that Bitcoin could become the dominant in global finance. Bitcoin can become dominant in global finance by 2050, according to panelists in this new study. I'm not sure if you've heard of this one, but it offers a bit of a silver lining in terms of, you know, people are still optimistic that Bitcoin will eventually climb out of these summer doldrums.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you know, nobody's writing off Bitcoin. I mean, people just sort of accept the volatility in this market. And, you know, I mean, as always, with everything, you know, you have to take more risk to get more reward. And so that's what the volatility is really, is the short-term risk. And people, you know, there's a lot of people think Bitcoin is, you know, prices are going to pop back up. But, you know, the question of sort of Bitcoin's penetration of the payments market or global financial services, I mean, that's probably more of an open question at this point, versus just kind
Brad,
of.
I hear you. You know, this week we also looked at the Google trends, and we saw that, you know, searches for Bitcoin price are, you know, at some of their lowest levels in a while, which is a sluggish market indicator. And we're also looking at inflation and how the impact of the markets. And, you know, the consumer price index rose more than expected this week, but Bitcoin went down. I wonder, is inflation priced in already?
I mean, that's one possibility. You know, the Federal Reserve was printing money all of last year and Bitcoin prices were soaring, you know, so it could be that, you know, now that we're actually seeing the inflation, you know, Bitcoin already priced it a long time ago. But, you know, I mean, also, you know, Bitcoin is seen as a risky asset. So, you know, it's just another manifestation of the topsy-turvy nature of global financial markets. You know, something good happens, stocks go down, and it's because people immediately jump to what is really going on, which is it means that the Federal Reserve is going to take some action. So, you know, if Bitcoin is a risky stock, and generally speaking, if the Fed tightens monetary policy, risky assets will go down in price. That's kind of the instinct. And so people are just jumping ahead that, okay, well, if we're seeing inflation, it means the Fed's going to tighten sooner rather than later, and that might put some pressure on Bitcoin prices. I mean, these are all just theories, you know, on what is going to happen. And, you know, people sort of after the fact assigning, meaning to some price move that may be random.
Great. Another news item that people were looking forward to this week was Paraguay. They'd been hinting about new legislation being brought forward by some congressmen and the opposition congressman there, but it ended up being a bit of a dud. It was nothing like in El Salvador, where they're adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. It had more to do with registering your crypto, registering crypto mining operations. So that was a little disappointing for some of the Bitcoin maximalists out there. And JP Morgan was also commenting the week before about the Bitcoinization in El Salvador. That will be a challenge because Bitcoin isn't useful really as a medium of exchange. They made that case. But a lot of people in the crypto community were saying that totally negates the Lightning Network. And Christie, that's where I think your expertise lays here. We're seeing a lot of developments in the Lightning community. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, yeah, what's really great is that there has been a lot of talk about the Bitcoin Lightning Network lately. And in case you haven't heard of it, this is a secondary transaction layer built on top of Bitcoin's main blockchain that can make secure payments way faster and cheaper and even more private. So Lightning's been a long time in development, like anything else built on Bitcoin. We want to make sure we're doing it right. And Lightning is the payment rail that powers Strike, which we've heard a lot about. That's the Bitcoin wallet that's being used by lots of people in El Salvador, for instance. So Lightning is what's going to make it feasible to buy that all-important cup of coffee on Bitcoin that everyone's so eager to buy, and it's way too expensive and too slow to do on the main chain. You can do it on Lightning. So what's exciting about Lightning right now is its growth. Like Bitcoin, Lightning relies on a relay of nodes to communicate transactions among each other, and more nodes means more ways to communicate and secure the transactions. Lightning payments run through channels to the nodes that are funded by users and provide liquidity on the network, and this is essential to its operation. The great news this week is that participation is up, and we can look at it in a couple of ways. First, the number of nodes has doubled in the last 3 months. For perspective, the last time the node count doubled, it took a whole year to do that. That happened in April. It doubled in a year. But it's doubled since April. So the second thing, as you can see there's a chart we've got, the amount of Bitcoin held in Lightning channels has grown exponentially. It's taken shorter and shorter times to add 100 Bitcoin in capacity to the network. On July 12th, it hit 1,800 Bitcoin. And since then, it's added another 50 in liquidity. So more and more people are adding liquidity to the channel, and that's important. And third, the number of channels themselves has increased to over 56,000 channels. So that's lots of ways to route your transactions through the Lightning Network. It's been a long time coming.
Do we know the timing, or why is this happening now? Is there any reason, any catalyst?
Yeah, there's a lot of good reasons for it, I think. And everyone's kind of asking themselves, what's the deal? I think there's been a lot of publicity around it, especially with Strike lately. Also, it's become easier. There are more out-of-the-box solutions that make it possible for you to run a Lightning node, to run a Bitcoin node and a Lightning node. So you can build it yourself using a Raspberry Pi, or you can get plug-and-play ones where there are sites online where you can order them and just plug it in and fund it yourself. And like running a Bitcoin node, it's your way of proving your own transactions. Plus, there's a way of making a little bit of money on liquidity fees, of creating yield, earning yield from funding a channel. So people are getting into it. And I think the more and more that we are talking about it, and the more people hear about it, I think the more interested they'll be in participating and trying it out. I made my first Lightning transaction at a conference, I think 3 or 4 years ago. No, maybe it wasn't that long ago. Maybe it was 3 years ago. But when it was really new. And it just takes that one time to give it a shot. There are also more wallets that have better user interfaces. So everything is being built to make it more user-friendly. So as Elizabeth Stark, the CEO of Lightning Lab, said, it's no longer just the future. Lightning is actually here. And that's
very fascinating, very cool. In other news this week, we're still keeping watch of Binance woes as they continue. Binance, they're ending their support for stock tokens after getting hammered on that by regulators. Hong Kong and Lithuania are just the latest to issue warnings against Binance. In Hong Kong, they're saying Binance is not registered to operate in their jurisdiction. We're also seeing the great Bitcoin mining migration continuing on. 3 more provinces in China have ordered a halt to crypto mining. But at the same time, we're seeing an explosion of growth in mining operations in North America. So perhaps we're continuing to see that migrate to North America and elsewhere in Asia.